Welcome again to our first of our series of 4 of the BT Wrap Migration Masterclasses. Look forward to taking you through the next 45 minutes or so, and then some questions as well at the tail end of our presentation. Just with regard to your questions, if you just pop them in the Q&A tab, you'll see that down the bottom right-hand corner of your screen. If you type them in there, so that we can get to them and aim to get to all of them if we can today. But if not, we'll be able to follow that up and get them and get those answers out to you. So good afternoon or good morning, depending on what part of the country you're joining us from. And thank you very much for joining us for this first of our masterclasses, which is really aimed at helping you and your clients transition smoothly from Wrap to Panorama. If you've got any colleagues who missed out on joining today, conflicting appointments, meetings, time demands, we will be recording the session and we'll make it available on our migration webpage. So our aim today is to provide you with information that you need to certainly understand the impact of migration on your clients and those things that you can effectively plan in advance. We'll cover such items as where we're currently sitting in our migration journey. And we'll be joined by our Head of Platforms, Distributions and Services, Phil Butterworth, who will run us through that. An overview of the migration journey from your client's perspective, what they can expect to see, and a snapshot of some of those changes that will occur, and giving you a heads up, if you like, of the sorts of things that you can start to prepare for and plan for. I'll take you through that. Then we'll be going through a walkthrough of the migration notice, or the SEN, that a significant event notice that we've talked about previously, that your clients will be receiving as a requirement of this migration, and take you through the various components of that. Advise you where you can find all the tools and support through the website and other collateral and support material that we can provide to you, and finally provide you, as I said, with that opportunity to ask those questions, but ask them as we go, and we'll endeavour to get to them and run through those questions with our panel at the end. But to get us started, I'd like to hand over now to Phil Butterworth, our Head of Distribution, to outline where we are on the journey to date. So over to you. Thanks, Phil.
Yes, thanks, Tim, and hi and welcome everybody. And I'm sure you're looking forward to a bit of a break over the coming weeks. At BT, our aspiration is to be the platform partner of choice for wealth businesses. To achieve this, we really do need to simplify our business so that we can be more innovative, responsive, and easy to deal with. And that's why our migration from Wrap to our contemporary platform, Panorama, is so important. BT is the largest platform provider in the market, with over 115 bill under administration. And we also recognise, though, that the change from Wrap, in particular those of you who are advocates, to Panorama is a change. However, Panorama is getting great accolades and strong support, which should give you confidence. As an example, it's won the Mobile App Award for the last 3 years running. The FUA up on Panorama is up 32% since October 19. There's over 3,000 active advisors, now up 32%, and there's over 68,000 clients on Panorama as well, which is up 48%. So the good news is that we completed our first pilot migration last weekend, and that was designed to fine-tune our approach and ensure that when we move into our migration next year, that we're going to make it as smooth as possible for you. And I was recently speaking to Lisa Ralph, the principal of FLP, who was the pilot practice, and her main tip to all of you was to really just engage with your clients as soon as possible about the change. Over her 500 clients, she only had one inquiry, which was really just checking on an issue, as the rest of the clients, when they received their SEN, were well informed and knew that the migration was occurring. Our next tranche is aimed to be done before the end of Q1 next year, and the preparation for this is obviously well underway. For those advisors who are participating in tranche, we're calling it tranche 2, or first quarter next year, you would have received some communication from us yesterday. I'd now like to hand back to Tim, who's going to take you through the client journey. And I wish you all a great break and a safe one. Thanks, Tim.
Thanks, Phil. Yes, just recapping Phil's comments there that First Migration has gone through and was very successful. So we're very excited about that, to talk about what is and not what we think. So it's been a good first tranche for us and good learning. So just jumping on to the customer experience for migration, and some of you may have seen this slide before, and thank you for your questions. I can see them coming through. So as I said, we'll be sure to get to those. But we've endeavoured to balance with what changes, obviously, for clients with what's staying the same. So in essence, there on the top line, you can see that in effect, we're changing from Wrap to Panorama, but it's the same product in the back end. We're upgrading the system, if you like. So think of it as a system enhancement and a visual change and functionality change for your clients and for you and your business, with the efficiencies that come with that. The pricing objective is that clients won't be worse off, so they'll retain their current pricing if they have a better pricing rate card than the current standard BT Open card, which we launched 2 years ago on Panorama and Wrap Open. Or if in fact the rate card would benefit from making that move, then we'll make that move for them. And we've actually done a full assessment and price favourability to assist you in that. We'll be making that available to you to have a look at a point in time. Of course, things change all the time depending on portfolio sizes and asset allocations, etc. But we'll be having that as a very valuable tool for you to look at. Clients are migrated under their existing advice structure unless changed by the advisor, and that's evidenced by the approach that FLP has taken, for example, with their dealer group. But of course, that's a dealer group decision, so you can have a look at that. But in terms of the actual move from Wrap to Panorama, can take place in that way. So what is changing then? Much is staying the same. Well, a new PDS is available, and some new processes. So starting to build for those of you that have been using Wrap for a long time, and it's been a very successful part of the financial advisor landscape and businesses across the country for 20 years. Then there will be some new processes and new ways to go about it, which will create efficiencies in your business and new opportunities with things such as managed accounts, for example, being featured. So there are some new logins and passwords for clients as well, which will come through, and very much an enhanced user experience. So for those clients of yours that do like to get involved and do their online banking and their online everything and have apps, then this is going to be a really positive experience for them as they move through to get the full Panorama user experience. So just moving on now to what does migration look like? And this is really what it looks like for you and your businesses. And in essence, there's some key stepping stones which will take you through, some key checkpoints for you to focus on. And one of these has come home in terms of its level of importance really on the weekend with our first migration, and that is it's very important to update your client details on Wrap. So in particular for those that have mobile numbers and email addresses, really important to get that through, because the information that you have on Wrap is the primary information that we'll bring across to Panorama. We'll talk a little bit in a little bit of time about data uplift and data gaps, but the information that's on Wrap, if it's updated, and quite often when we change details, mobiles and emails, and I've certainly been guilty of it, we don't always get around to changing with all of our various product providers in life. In business, we update the CRM sometimes, Xplan, etc., but not getting it through. So really important to spend some time on checking the client details on Wrap are accurate. So updating those, getting registered for BT Panorama, and I'm pleased to say that everybody, we have a 99%, a couple of people that we're just following up for registration for our second tranche in the first quarter of next year, all registered for Panorama and been using some of the training materials that Dave Giltrap will run through with you in a moment. Then the important thing as we engage with you is mapping the Wrap access to Panorama, and I'll explain a little bit what that actually means. The clients will be informed of the migration primarily from us, through the significant event notice or the migration notice, but also obviously via you and varying businesses will approach this differently, but we have some good templates which have developed much of that material in conjunction with FLP, with what they've used with their clients, and timetables for releasing that information out to clients. And so clients will be informed, and certainly the migration notice, Linda Fletcher will be running through with you in a short period of time. Confirmation migration is going ahead once we have all the information and we're set to go, and then of course we move into the migration weekend. So I just want to jump into 3 of those areas in a little bit more detail while I can. Just ensuring client details are up to date. We'll just show you on this next slide the details with respect to that. The importance of having that is that it's critical, because that information then sets up or establishes the client's identity, if you like, or experience in Panorama. So very, very important that that is correct on RAP. But also along the way, we've been engaging with practice champions in your offices around the country to get the data uplifted via an encrypted spreadsheet, with security of information being critical for us, and getting that back with an attestation form, which really says that that data is that's the gaps that are being provided by you, that information that we haven't been able to find here that we hold for the client, then those gaps are updated, and that is attested to by you as being accurate. Once all that data is inputted into that spreadsheet, then the practice champion notifies BT, and we use a very secure portal, file share access, where they'll upload that. And that's been very successful with a number of you already having completed that. If you haven't completed that, if you could please get to that as a matter of urgency prior to first quarter of next year. And if you have any challenges with that, then please, by all means, get in touch with us here and your BDM. So next point is on registering for BT Panorama, and we won't spend too much time on this. The key thing here is the differences in permissions. So in RAP, had very limited roles and permissions, no real linkages between the two. You basically had, read only or full transact. Whereas in Panorama, for those of you that have used Panorama, you may know this, but there are varying roles within Panorama permissions framework. Obviously, primarily the dealer group manager, then advisors, admin assistant, paraplanners, and those roles link to various groupings and give various permissions based on what that role in the business is designed to do for you. So, we can have certain people looking at certain groups of clients or across whole groups of clients, being able to transact or not transact depending on the responsibilities, level of delegation and role of that individual. So again, have a conversation with us around that if you're yet to set that up, and we can get that set up to give you the maximum efficiencies in your business. And then the final one, just in terms of getting ready, is mapping the RAP access to Panorama. So as you'd know, with RAP, with every single badge of RAP, version of RAP that you've used, you have an F code because each RAP has a specific F code. So we'll just jump onto the next slide. Thanks, Matthew, if we can. And with all of those F codes come various logins and all sorts of confusion. So sometimes, depending on how many that you have, the beauty of Panorama is you'll have a single point of access, single login. But what we need to do is take all of that existing business that you've supported us with over the years in the various F codes attached to your practice, and make sure we map them or align them, point them directly to the correct Panorama ID for you. So we'll work with you and your practice champion or anyone that you nominate within your business to get that right, and then validate that mapping through a confirmation email with you. So again, many of you have done that, but for those that haven't yet done it, if you could get that confirmed and get it back to us, and if you've got any queries on that, please get in touch with us as soon as possible so we can get that sorted out for you. Okay, so enough of the formalities in terms of what we need to do to get ready and be business ready for migration. What's actually changing on migration? What does it look like? What are the features? What are some of the changes? And how do we actually start to communicate this for you through to your clients and give you the tools that you need to start to take them on this journey to what is the leading contemporary platform in the market in Australia. So Panorama features are significantly different, and mainly because it's built on a digital platform. So the mobile app is a key feature for clients. Those of us that use the apps, it's a really functional and effective way of getting access to information. We've all been more engaged with apps, I think, this year in a COVID environment with various COVID-safe apps and state government versions of scanning in and all those sorts of things. So even greater familiarity with the use of digital technology. But the good thing from a Praxis perspective, one of the great things is single login, as I mentioned before. So no more having to share logins across individuals and having different access points for different badges of RAP. Single login for you will certainly improve efficiencies. Opportunity to utilise managed accounts if that's something that you use in your business or been looking to use. So a different way, an additional way to manage portfolios for you. Household reporting, so grouping that reporting around your clients, being able to get that through. Very strong security, and certainly a feature of Panorama is the strength of the security that it provides to your clients for their data, which is very important, and for their wealth as well, for their money. And digital consent, digital ROAs, the ability to transact digitally, be in contact with your clients wherever they may be across the country, if they're travelling as such, for example, and being able to produce all of that at the touch of a button and have all of that compliantly stored in your financial planning software. So some really good features. There's things that are available on Panorama which just couldn't be delivered on RAP because it's built on an older IT architecture, if you like. And Panorama really does then deliver you the future proofing for your platform choices going forward, as we can continue to build it and expand it, as we have been very actively and continue to do as we continue to do major technology releases and improvements to that platform, and improvements really based on your feedback. A couple of things that it doesn't have, because they've been lower demand features. Checks and deposit books are not available on Panorama. So for those of your clients that use checks in RAP, there are workarounds for that, and the Pay Anyone functionality is very strong on RAP. But again, if you've got clients that have particular usage and history of usage of checkbooks, then you can actually link one of these accounts, one of your 5 linked accounts, and that may have a checkbook attached to it. So there are things we can do. Again, get in touch with us with respect to that. Warrants, really low demand. Had a handful of people that were using these on RAP, and so therefore there hasn't been that demand to build that sort of functionality onto RAP, onto Pano, sorry. But we do a lot of those other things, as I said. So it's the only platform in the market that'll offer 3 versions of HINs, sponsored, custodial and nominee. So that's certainly market leading. It's got your traditional features such as margin lending now on it, of course, and some really good reporting around historical reporting, household reporting as well. And the other obviously good thing around the portfolio management features, as I said, is the managed accounts functionality. Okay, so that's a lot of information. How do we actually get that to your clients in a way that's digestible? We produced this flyer, which will just pop up on screen for you next, and it's available on the BT Professional website. And it's a simple 2-sided flyer, and it has 6 good reasons, strong reasons why about Panorama and benefits of Panorama. So it really just introduces that in a very digestible format, listing the 6 things down the side and some details around each of those, customer experience and visibility, portfolio visibility, security, things such as those. So that is available for you on the website. So I do suggest that you go in and have a look at that, and you can certainly utilise that either in a hard copy format or digitally, and send that out to those clients that are looking for a little bit more information. Okay, so what changes will your client experience? There will be changes to some key things and things that your clients will experience. We talked about fees, so certainly our objective is to make sure that no client is worse off with this. This is a trustee requirement. The trustee needs this to be a positive experience for the members of the fund in super and the funds board and in the IDPS or normal investment RAP as well across to Pano. So the fee structures will be slightly different. In some situations, there'll be some fees that are turned off that don't apply. There'll be other fees that will be a change in fee, either going to a lower fee or they'll move across at the same level. So as I said, we will run through that and have that detailed information through to you. There's a short window of limited transactions, and we'll look at that in a moment with transaction restrictions. but a very short window in that lead up to the migration time. New BPay direct debit details is going to be something new for them, so updating those with relevant providers. For monies coming in, we'll be redirecting those to the new account for a period of 12 months, but ultimately those new account details will need to be updated over that course of that 12 months. Clients perhaps that haven't used online access to look at Wrap will register for online access. They'll be able to download the mobile app, as I said, and have a look at a whole range of features on their phone. And they'll need some help perhaps to go through that, and we're certainly here to support that, but also give you that information to work with you on that. Employer contributions through SuperStream, again, they'll be redirected, but you need to give new employer choice forms, and multi-signature accounts need to update those for those clients looking to transact online. I know a lot of advisors do that on behalf of their clients and don't have that feature available to their clients, but for those that do, needs to be an update there. All of this information will be contained in the client notice, which Linda's going to take you through shortly. But there is also an advisor checklist that we've put on the Migration Hub on the website for you to download and run through all of these key points, just covering off a few of them today for you in terms of things that you'll need to pay attention to get ready, and changes that your client will experience as well. Drawdowns, there's a slight difference in one of the drawdown options from Wrap. This is for pension drawdowns, for example, in Wrap to Panorama. Everything else maps up except for if in Wrap you've had the nominated asset where you might have 50% coming from Fund A and 50% coming from Fund B. You can nominate an asset in Panorama, but you can only nominate one asset with that feature. And so you would need to go in and amend that as well if you have that feature triggered for any of your particular clients for drawdown. If that feature currently exists on Wrap, it will come across to Panorama as the default strategy where no nomination has been made, which is the highest value asset within the highest value managed fund within Panorama. So again, something to have a look at. It's listed on that spreadsheet, and certainly something that we can help you with. WalkMe and Blue support, what does that mean? Well, Blue is the name of our chatbot, if you like, on Panorama. It will be available for answering questions for clients and for you as you go along, and guiding you to various sections of the Panorama website and user interface to enable you to have a good journey around and be able to find what you need and achieve what you're looking to do as well. So it's a very developmental in terms of its AI, so artificial intelligence, and it is learning as it goes. And we've certainly got it set up well to start, and it will get better as it gets used more. So looking forward to that. And the WalkMe journey really just does take you through, you and your clients through the Panorama experience, so that it can guide you a bit like a guided tour through the website, so that you know where to go to find things, because things will be different from where you last looked. So some changes there that your client will experience, and hopefully, if you've got clients on Panorama now, you can start to experience some of those and start to align your business practices with using some of those efficiencies that Panorama will deliver to your practice. Okay, just finally from me, before I hand over, just transaction restrictions. So if we spoke about that, unlike some historical sort of migrations where you have significant restrictions before and after, we really have minimised the days, if you like, before migration when transaction limitations will apply. And you can see this list here. This is also available on the Migration Hub on the website. So manual cash transactions, 2 days out. So within 2 days, they'll be held and carried forward and done post-migration. And you can see those other restrictions there. So nothing too much. Obviously, listed securities with the 3 days need to settle those. So they're the restrictions that you can see. So again, a bit of pre-planning and making sure that any of those sorts of requirements are done before migration, or as we said, in the day after migration as it becomes available. Okay, I'll now hand over to Dave Giltrap, a senior training manager with Platforms and Investment Business, just to run through some of those migration tools and support to support you on your journey with your clients into Panorama from RAP. Thank you, Dave.
Excellent. Thanks very much, Tim, and hello to everyone. Look, it's already been mentioned, but migration from BT RAP to Panorama is designed to allow us to respond faster in servicing the needs of you and your clients. However, we do acknowledge that migration will bring change, especially for those of you who have not used Panorama before. And I think with that in mind, our team has really been planning and preparing so that we can deliver the right support to you, your support teams and your clients through the migration process. Just a next slide, thanks, Matt. So how are we going to assist you through migration? This is a short listing of the support sessions and tools that you'll have available to you. So there's the briefing sessions, starting with our first masterclass today. And I do encourage you to make use of the opportunity to ask questions throughout the session that we'll attend to later in the briefing. This is the first of 4 masterclasses in this series, so you can register for now, and we're going to introduce more as required. There's the digital hub, which has already been mentioned. That's accessed from the bt.com.au site. This is designed to be your central source of information for migration. There's an advisor and an investor hub, and I'll talk a little bit more about these in a moment. There's, of course, our team that you can call at any time if you need further assistance, maybe beyond information from the hub. In regards training, we've certainly built and provided a selection of training options to assist as you become familiar with Panorama. Just the next slide, thanks, Matt. So I've mentioned already the digital hub. This is designed to be your central source of information. We'll keep this updated right throughout the migration process for you. This is the website address or URL. Handy tip to save that for you as a favourite. And I think through the hub you'll be able to access a range of tools. So comprehensive frequently asked questions that will update as well as required. Access to Panorama training and tutorials, which I'll get into. And to view all of the migration related announcements and updates, and also copies of client communications. Just jump onto the next slide, and this is for your clients. So they'll have their own investor digital hub to assist in their migration journey, FAQs, communications and collateral. You can also access this via your advisor portal if you'd like to share the link with your clients for the investor hub. And if we just jump onto the next slide. Regards training, we know that the right training for you and your support teams will be an important, really crucial part of your migration journey from BT RAP to BT Panorama. We also know that people like to learn in different ways, so we've certainly factored that in to how we provide the Panorama and migration training for you. I think in the first instance we've built and will continue to evolve the eAcademy Panorama training portal. I'll get onto that in just a moment. And also recognising that people, as I sort of mentioned, do like to learn in different ways. We're also providing live webinars. So these are 30 to 40, maybe 45-minute sessions where you have the opportunity to ask questions of Panorama experts at the time. We've already run our first webinar series, which was across October and November. These have all been recorded and available for you to view at any time from the Migration Hub and the training portal, and we'll certainly be planning more webinars in the new year in 2021. You can just jump onto the next slide. And regarding our Panorama training portal, you can access this from the Migration Hub on the BT site, and you firstly need to register for it just once, and you get your own login and password. And this is going to house all of our training courses on Panorama. I think there's thus far 5 courses fully available and ready now, covering things like navigation, opening accounts, transacting, reporting, digital consent, which is a great feature of Panorama as well. And as I mentioned, we are evolving this site, so we'll be releasing more courses in the new year to accompany migration. Each of the courses is broken down into short, bite-sized modules, all viewable on demand and at a time that really suits you. And I think important for the migration process to assist that each course includes a separate video considering how you did it on RAP, perfect in preparation for migration, in addition to a video that's titled, "What Does My Client See?" So you'll really have a good idea for what your Panorama client experience is as well. I think a handy inclusion in the site as well is users can receive a certificate when they've completed a course, so that can really help support staff demonstrate within their business their level of Panorama understanding as you progress through the migration process. We're very encouraging that we have multiple hundreds of advisors and their support staff already registered for this site, for the training portal, taking advantage of the tools that we've built and are available to help migration. Certainly encourage you to get on and utilise it as well within your business. So I think that's it for me. I'll pass on to Linda Fletcher now, who's going to take you through information regarding client notices.
Thanks very much, Dave, and hi everybody. As Tim said earlier, I'll be taking you through the detail of the notices that your clients will receive prior to the migration of their account. Just to sort of summarise, I guess the migration notice is really the main communication that your clients will receive about the migration, and it contains very important information that they need to know about how the migration is going to work, and what will actually be changing for them. So you've heard us today refer to this as a significant event notice or a SEN, but just be aware we don't actually use that term in the communication itself. So your clients will just know this as the migration notice. So just to start off on the next slide, please, Matt. Just to start off in terms of timing, the migration notices will be sent for each tranche. And the migration notices will be sent to clients at least 30 days prior to their migration date. So what this means is if you've got clients that are being migrated in different tranches, then they'll receive their migration notices at different times. And likewise, if any of your clients have multiple accounts, and if these accounts are migrating in different tranches, then they will receive a notice for each account, and they might receive these notices at different times as well. So just keep that in mind. So clients will receive their migration notice either via email or via paper copy, and that'll depend on whatever communication preference they've got nominated on their RAP account at the moment. So obviously, anytime up to the point of migration, there's an option to go in to their RAP account and amend that communication preference if they'd like to. So the notice itself will be sent to either the primary residential address or email address that's registered to the account. So if there are multiple account holders, the primary account holder is the one that will receive this migration notice. But then following the migration, all account holders will receive information from us about how to register for online access to their account if that's something that they'd like to do. So the migration notice itself comprises 3 parts. It is quite a substantial communication. So the first part is really, the main part that summarises the migration, I guess. It's in a cover letter style, or the main kind of body part of the email if they're receiving it electronically, and it will be personalised to each individual customer. The other 2 components of the migration notice are the fee schedule and the important information guide. And for these sections, there are different versions of those documents, and so the version that your client will receive will depend on the product that they've got and the fees that they'll have upon migration. So I'll go into that in a little bit more detail on the following slides. Matt, we might go to the next slide and just kick off with the cover letter for the migration notice. So this is the cover letter that you can see here. And if the client is receiving this notice via email, then the other parts of the migration notice that I mentioned being the fee schedule and the important information guide. Those will be included via hyperlinks within that email. So this section that you see here is personalised for each client, and it really covers the key things that your clients need to know about the migration. So Tim's actually touched on many of these things already, but I'll just take a few moments to reiterate those. So firstly, this letter is going to tell the clients what their scheduled migration date is, and obviously that's going to be different for each tranche. It also talks to them about how their account number is going to change and how they'll be able to access their account after migration, which will be using the new login details that we'll send to them after the migration. It touches on the limitations to transactions that Tim mentioned in the days leading up to the migration, and there's more information on this in the important information guide, which I'll touch on as well. For investment clients specifically, they have a set of terms and conditions in WRAP that's contained in their WRAP disclosure documents, and those terms and conditions are going to change slightly because they'll align to the Panorama terms and conditions. And so the notice just highlights this to them and directs them to the relevant disclosure documents that are going to apply to their account upon migration, which will be the Panorama disclosure documents. So regarding fees, we touch on this in this first part of the notice as well, and we explain to them what's going to happen to their current administration fees upon migration. So again, as Tim mentioned earlier, some clients are going to retain their existing fee arrangements while some clients will move to the standard Panorama pricing. And the outcome for each client is going to depend on that assessment that we do, which is based on their account balance, their asset allocation, and their account keeping fee prior to the migration date. If the outcome for a client is that they'll move to the standard Panorama pricing, then this letter is going to include an estimate of the reduction in those fees in dollar terms. It is obviously important to note that this assessment is based as at a point in time, and so any changes to the client's account balance, their asset allocation, or their current fee arrangement could result in a change to that outcome at some point in the future following that assessment. So the notice also explains the ability to access their account via the Panorama mobile app, if that's something that they're interested in, and obviously that'll be a new experience for clients who have only used WRAP before. And for investment clients, as Tim mentioned as well, if there are any of your clients that have more than one signatory on their account, then they'll need to nominate a single authorised signatory if they do want to transact online going forward. And we'll outline this in the letter specifically for those clients, so that'll be tailored for those clients, and we'll provide details in the letter, about what form they need to complete to do that nomination. And then finally, this component of the notice just outlines what happens next. So what will happen next is that they'll receive a communication from us following their scheduled migration date, which will confirm to them how they can access their account at that point. So we might move on to the fee schedule. So that's what you can see on the screen here. Sorry, back one, Matt. Thank you. So the fee schedule, it's quite comprehensive. It outlines the fees that are going to apply to your clients upon migration. So as I mentioned, there are different versions of the fee schedule, and the version that each client receives is going to depend on whether they're an investment wrap or super wrap, and whether they're retaining their existing fee arrangement or moving to the standard Panorama pricing. So that will be different for each client. So the fee schedule doesn't contain specific information on each client's assessment for that outcome of whether they keep their existing price or move to the Panorama pricing. The fee schedule won't contain that information, but that information is provided in that cover letter for the migration notice that I talked about on the previous slide. So the fee schedule's got quite a helpful table, which really just outlines the differences between each fee on WRAP versus that same fee on Panorama. So obviously the key ones are the administration fees, trustee fees, expense recoveries, custodial holdings option fee, as well as the transaction fees or brokerage. And it also outlines the fees that we as the administrator or the trustee will no longer be charging on Panorama. So that includes the transaction fee on managed funds, if that was applicable to your clients, as well as the portfolio facility fee. So the fee schedule also covers off the differences between the advice fee options between Wrap and Panorama as well. So the table will explain the differences between how those fees are calculated and charged between Wrap and Panorama, as well as outlining those advice fee types that will no longer be available on Panorama. So that's the advisor contribution fee and the managed fund transaction fee as well. And lastly, on the fee schedule for Super Wrap clients specifically, it will explain to them the changes to the maximum fees that can be charged by the trustee. So for the super products, each of the Super Wrap clients will have disclosed to them a table of maximum fees in their disclosure document. So we'll provide them the details of what those changes are as well. Now, obviously, the maximum fees are not the fees being charged to the clients at the time necessarily, but those are the maximum fees that can be imposed by the trustee, and any changes to fees following migration would be provided to clients with 30 days notice. So we'll move on to the third component, which is the important information guide. So this is really quite a substantial piece of the migration notice, and it contains more substantial information on some of the things I've just touched on, and quite a comprehensive description of what will be changing for them on migration. So there will be two versions of this guide. So there'll be one for investments clients and one for super and pension clients. And the guide, just as if you're walking through it with your clients, it firstly just touches on what the migration actually is and how it will work. So we also explain to the clients in there how we'll communicate with them at the time of the migration and following the migration, and what they need to do to prepare for it. So that checklist that Tim referred to earlier, similar kind of checklists exists in the guide as well, and the idea of that is that it highlights the things that the clients should focus on really in order to be ready for the migration. So that includes things such as ensuring that their contact details are up to date, their communication preferences, as I mentioned, as well as planning any upcoming transactions, just in light of the small period of limitations in some transactions in the lead up to their migration date. So there's a second checklist in the guide as well, which focuses more what clients can do following the migration. So that includes things such as registering for online access, if that's something that they'd like to do, checking their payment and direct debit arrangements in case any changes need to be made there, as well as downloading the app again, if that's something that they'd like to do. So as you move through the guide, you'll see that it then gives them a brief description of what Panorama is, which again, that flyer that Tim mentioned earlier, some of the same things will be touched on in the guide as well, and it talks to some of the features that they'll have access to. Obviously, there's more information available to clients in the relevant Panorama disclosure documents on this. And you'll see quite frequently through the guide, we do refer clients back to those disclosure documents for more detailed information on various things. So the guide does outline to the client specific changes, specific features, that will change upon migration. So we try to highlight those things and make them quite clear. So that includes things such as the transaction account, any changes to available investment options, the availability of portfolio management tools, as well as margin lending, which is obviously only relevant for investment clients, but there's a few changes to how margin lending will work on Panorama. So we've outlined those in a fairly digestible way as well. We also touch on the new features that will be available to clients on Panorama. So these are things that they wouldn't have had access to on Wrap previously. So that includes things such as the managed accounts offers, automatic reinvesting features, and features specifically designed for SMSFs as well. And then as you move through the guide, we've got a specific section on transacting on the account and how this is going to change. And I appreciate that you know, clients and advisors do that in different ways, and different clients have different preferences. But we do provide information in there on how they can manage payments and deposits going forward, any regular investment plans or deposit plans, as well as drawdown strategies as well. So there's quite a helpful table in the guide just explaining and comparing the differences between drawdown strategies on Wrap compared to Panorama as well. And then the guide also outlines differences, not differences, sorry, but how the client statements will work in those first couple of reporting periods following the migration. So where they've migrated during a year and they've had part of the year on Wrap and part of the year on Panorama, we'll explain to them in the guide how their statements are going to be provided to them over that reporting period. And then finally, the guide just things that have been covered in the guide. So aside from obviously speaking to you as their advisor, that includes sources such as the Investor Hub, the Migration Hub that David showed you earlier. So that's quite a lot of information that essentially summarises the migration notice, and obviously encourage you to have a read of that. Given that the communication is tailored to each customer, we can't provide individual copies of each notice for each of your clients, but we will have a sample of those migration documents that I've just walked through on the Migration Hub as well. So once they're available, definitely encourage you to have a read of those ahead of your clients receiving them, and let us know if you've got any questions. So I'll hand back to Tim for questions. Thanks, Tim.
Thanks, Linda. I really appreciate that, and David as well. We will open up to some questions now. We've got quite a few questions, so I'll work through. Joining us on the panel today is David and Linda, joining myself, and also we're joined by our Head of Account Management for BT Platforms, Jason Brown, and also whose name didn't get on the list, but he's very much there, is Gary Burford, our National Manager of Platform Development, and I just call him our National Manager of all things migration because Gary knows them. So I'll start to throw these questions out. So a question just came through in the chat actually from Megan Usher. What happens if clients don't use the online systems with Wrap? So I might take that one. That's fine. If they've got emails and mobiles, we encourage you to get them into Wrap and put those details in, and they can register for online. It doesn't mean that they have to use that. If they're not currently using online systems, then they'll still continue to process transactions, etc. It will all come through you. There is an offline solution being developed for those few clients that don't have email and mobile, and we know that there are some of those, and we've developed that in conjunction with a working group of advisors in terms of how that would operate for them. So which will be explained and run through. So we've got all of those situations covered. Just jumping into the questions now, how are clients with UK source funds and grandfather pensions going to be treated? Well, certainly with QROPS status for those that are currently on Wrap, they will be migrated. They'll come across just in those final confirmation discussions with HMRC in UK, just in terms of how that will work, but it certainly won't be a tax trigger event of any kind for those QROP funds, so they come across. And grandfather pensions, because it retains the same status, it's a continuing income stream from Centrelink's purpose. We've been talking with them at length for a long period of time. They will marry up those details in the back end in their digital reporting, and there'll be no trigger events or changes to any grandfathered pensions or deeming pensions going across from Centrelink perspective or DVA. So all of that's going to happen automatically in the background when we report next to them. Is a new PDS being sent by the platform or the dealer group? I might throw that one to you, Gary.
Sure. Thank you, Tim. Yes, so the PDS is being issued by the platform, BT. We'll be, of course, providing copies to the dealer group beforehand and to advisors beforehand, copies of all those guides and fee statements, etc. So you can see what we'll be sending out in advance of us sending it to the clients, but it's issued by BT.
Thanks, Gary. Are the templates available online? So I'm presuming, Amy, those templates we were talking about in terms of communication templates, email templates. Yes, very much. They are available online on the Migration Hub. So please jump in there and have a look through those. Does the Planner Office? Sorry, I'm just trying to read these. Here we go. Does the Planner Office have the ability to send the notification to clients or control this process so we don't get swamped and can keep on the front foot? No, the send needs to be, I'm assuming you're meaning the send or client notice there. That has to be issued by BT as the platform provider. That's a legislative requirement. The idea is to give that information to you and give you a copy of that, so you'll see that sort of information that's in there early, so that you'll get that before clients will receive that. And also what was done to good effect by FLP for their migration on the weekend was their own communication, which went out pre that notice, giving clients a heads up that it would come and what sort of information they could expect to see in that. So they were quite proactive in getting that email out to their clients, so that it wasn't the first that they had heard around migration at all. What do we do where we can't see their residential address on RAP? We can only see mailing address, and we won't know that their residential address is correct. Gary, did you want to take that one? Or
I'm not aware of situations where the address isn't visible on RAP. I thought it always was. So perhaps one to follow up with your BDM, because I believe that you can see both the postal and the residential address on the RAP system.
Yeah, I'd suggest that was from you, Bronwyn. So if you could just touch base with your BDM with respect to that, or through to client relations and give them a call, and they'll be able to guide you through on that and see what's going on with that one. By notification, I mean the communication on what to expect, etc. Particularly for older clients who don't understand, it will be important. Just trying to cutting off my my questions here. Just bear with me while I try and get more on the page. Understand it will be important that the chain of communication is easy and we can help them. Certainly, Naomi, with that notification, it's extremely important to get in touch, particularly, as you said, for the older clients, and the learning or observation that we had, rather than learning, observation was being proactive early on the front foot, using those templates to get in touch with clients, and particularly those that you know may have more trouble managing this change and digesting it all, is very much a recommended step. There's a little tip from Deanne, who would have sent the attestation for the data uplift in, signed by the practice champion, and then unfortunately had to resend it in, signed by the advisors. You're absolutely correct on that one for the data uplift. Deanne, thank you for that tip. So just what we talked about before with the spreadsheet that comes out, and then you lodge it via the secure portal. Very important that the attestation regarding the validity and accuracy of the information included in that data sheet is signed by the advisor as the authorised rep. So thank you, Deanne, for that tip on that one. If we've already done the file share update, do we also need to update on RAP, or a BT doing it for us? So if we were absolutely, the information you've given us is the gaps that we don't already have on RAP, and that is being input from that data sheet. So thank you very much for getting that into us. What we don't know is whether the mobile, for example, that's on RAP is the current mobile, if it's accurate, if the email is accurate. So what we're suggesting is not for the information that you sent in that we didn't have, but for all the existing information on RAP, that you take time to go through that and just check and make sure that all matches up to your CRM or your most recent client data gathered for those. Okay. What's occurring for the RAP, Super RAP Essential client accounts? Will they transition in the future? Absolutely. So RAP and Super RAP Essentials will be transitioning, and they'll be happening later in the period. So all of this migration will be closed out this financial year by June 2021. So they'll be occurring towards the end of the tranches, and the approach for that migration is currently in front of, as we speak, in front of I think trustee boards and whatnot, has been over the last few days. So that's just getting verified, validated, and signed off at that point. So we'll be out early in the new year with details of that in terms of what that will look like for Essentials clients migrating across. Another question about UK funds and QROP, so I think we've addressed that one. Bit of an operational issue, and I might answer part of this and then just throw to you, Jason, in terms of setting up new accounts from Naomi. Naomi sat with a client to set up 2 new accounts last week. They received 8 emails, which was quite overwhelming for them. Can all the welcome pack email become more of an all-in-one? And is this something to expect with migration clients, multiple emails? I'll just answer the migration piece first. Clients will get an email welcoming them for each account that they do have, that their details are listed for, but they only need to register for that account. They need to register online once because those accounts will all be linked underneath. So that, again, there is a draft and template that covers off that communication, and FLP was very strong at doing that with regard to that. If they've got one account, they'll get one email, but if they do have multiple accounts, then they'll get a welcome email post-migration for each one of those. But in terms of the new setup, Jason, perhaps I could just throw to you in terms of some of the experiences that others have had and how they've guided clients through that.
Yeah, thanks, Tim, and hello, everybody. So you're right, multiple notifications just confuse clients. So sometimes this can be addressed by the order in which you do the setup. So happy to touch base directly with you after this to talk through that, see if there's an opportunity to change that and get a better outcome. We've also reduced a lot of the notifications, so we're heading the right direction. I'm really keen to just understand how they got 8 emails in total. That I agree, that sounds like too many, and we'll just get that better and better at that. We've got what we call a CI, continuous improvement forum, and we'll feed those ideas in there and make sure that we're reducing any tension and traction for your clients. So thanks for the feedback. I'll come back to you directly.
Excellent, thank you. So the questions, we're running out of time, and we're not going to get through them all. So we will seek to get those details and address those questions for you after this session. But a question from Terry regarding, will migration occur by alphabetical or by assets under management size or by practice? Perhaps Gary, if you just run through the tranche approach.
Sure. We're migrating by badge. So the first badge, advisor badge to be moved is in bulk is BT Open. As we've said publicly, that would be the first one to go. And then after that, we'll be moving advised badges in large tranches after that. So as much as possible, we're trying to move an entire badge in one tranche.
Excellent. Thank you. Another one, after migration, will information still be available on the WRAP platform? Yes, it will. We're obviously looking post this movement off of WRAP to decommission WRAP in the future, but you'll have access to for sort of like 12 months after migration, so you'll be able to access that information as well. There's a few other questions around when clients don't have emails and mobiles, which we've been able to address. So yes, there is an offline solution, and a few questions just to summarise around clients' pension payments. Will they be effective? Will they be made on the usual date? They will be migrated. Pension payment dates will be migrated with as their WRAP date, so they'll continue to get on the same date. One of the great features of Panorama is that you can then adjust that pension date to be paid on any date that suits you, so suits the client. And that's a very effective and flexible tool for clients, particularly when they're first moving into migration. So there's a lot of questions. As I said, we won't get to them all, and we'll endeavour to answer all of these with regard to the individuals getting answers to those. But thank you very much, first of all, to the panelists today and our speakers, being Phil and Linda and David. Very much appreciate that. Thank you, Jason and Gary, for joining us for the Q&A at the end. But most importantly, thank you to the hundreds of you who joined and today, and we hope that you've got good information out of today. Please get to that Digital Migration Hub, the website. There's a wealth of information on there. Have a look through and the training tools. You'll certainly see Dave's smiling face across all those videos, and he does a wonderful job. And yes, a big thank you to everybody for attending today, because we've really enjoyed having you on board today and sharing this information with you. So I'll wrap it up at that point. Very Merry Christmas and Happy New Year and safe Christmas festive period to all of you and your families. And thank you, as always, for your support. We very much appreciate it here at BT, and we look forward to engaging with you more in the new year with the webinars 2, 3 and 4, and individually as well, as we help you prepare your businesses and your clients for this migration to Panorama. Thank you, everybody.